Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Today we will be finishing our main topic, genetic mapping, and in this regard, today we are going to discuss about linkage and recombination between three genes. And in today's lecture, we will be focusing on the genetic mapping with the 3-point test cross, and then gene mapping in humans, and then physical chromosome mapping methods. And in these methods we will look at deletion mapping, somatic cell hybridization, in situ hybridization, and mapping by DNA sequencing. So we have already learned that genetic maps can be constructed from a series of test crosses for a pair of genes. When we are dealing with pairs of genes, we can map the genes by conducting a series of different test crosses, but this approach is not particularly efficient, and because numerous 2-point crosses are needed, and without conducting many crosses we cannot do that. So numerous 2-point crosses must be carried out to establish the order of the genes, because genetic mapping is knowing that how far apart are genes, and for knowing the distance we also need to get order of the genes, in which order the genes are placed on the chromosomes. And because double crossovers are also missed, because when we are dealing with 2-point crosses, so mostly the double crossover events are missed. And a more efficient mapping technique is a test cross for 3 genes, and test cross between 3 genes is also known as 3-point cross, or simply 3-point test cross, or simply we can say that 3-point cross. So with a 3-point cross, the order of the three genes can be established in a single set of progeny. And in the case of 3-point cross, some double crossovers can be easily detected, and it provides more accurate map distance. So when we are dealing with the 3-point crosses, they are more accurate than the 2-point crosses for the purpose of genetic mapping. So now just have a look at this figure. For example, we want to see that what happens during the 3-point crosses. So if we have 3 genes A, B, and C, and we are looking at the type of crossovers, so there are 3 types of crossovers which are taking place among the linked loci. So in the first case, when single crossovers are taking place, you can see that when segments of chromosomes are crossed, so this is a synaptonymal complex, and we can see that after the cross, during meiosis, when uh, gametes are formed, so there are 2 non-recombinants and 2 recombinants. So this and this chromosome, they are recombinant chromosomes, because these 2 combinations, this one and this one, they are different from the parental combinations. So this happens in the case of single crossover between gene A and B. And second type of crossover is crossover between B and C. So if crossover will occur between B and C gene, then we will also get two recombinants and two non-recombinants. And in this case, gene part of the chromosome at the end of these chromosomes containing C gene will be exchanged. But in the case of double crossover, the third option, this one, uh, these events are happening and part of chromosomes are exchanged. But in this case, we can see that only the middle gene is altered. This small b is now present after the meiosis, now present on the mid in the middle of two A and C, and this is a recessive allele, and the dominant allele has been transferred on the other chromosome. So if the genes are in coupling configuration and we are in the parental case, in the parental types, then after the meiosis we have seen that in the case of single crossovers, when it is happening between A and B gene, then two genes are exchanged, and when it is occurring between gene B and C, then one chromosome is exchanged, one gene is exchanged. But in the case of double crossover, only the middle gene is exchanged. So what is the conclusion of this? That recombinant chromosome resulting from the double crossover have only middle middle gene altered. So as a result of double crossover, only middle gene is altered. So keep in mind that when double crossovers are occurring, so middle gene will be altered. So let us see what happens in Drosophila when three genes, 3-point crosses, test crosses are conducted. So to examine the gene mapping with a 3-point test cross, let us consider three recessive mutations in the fruit fly Drosophila. So in this species, scarlet eye color is recessive to red eye color, and ebony body color is recessive to gray body color, whereas spineless is recessive to normal bristles. So all three mutations are linked, and they are located, and the alleles for these uh, traits are located on the third chromosome, chromosome number 3. So in Drosophila, these three traits are coded by three genes, and these three genes are linked in this way that they are located on the chromosome number 3. So by performing the test cross, we will look what happens in the Drosophila. So if in the parental generation, because for the test cross you already know that when test cross is performed, a recessive homozygous is crossed with the heterozygous F1 generation heterozygotes. So if in the when for conducting this type of test crosses, first we need to pure breeds, pure breed for dominant traits when all the genes are homozygous dominant, and a pure breed of recessive traits. So scarlet eye color, ebony body eye color, and spineless, these are the three genes. So in the F1 generation, all the flies will be heterozygotes. So when this heterozygotes are crossed with pure breeding recessive trait, we will take female heterozygotes from the F1 generation, and this female is necessary because in the case of males in Drosophila, there are no crossing over events because of the absence of the formation of synaptonymal complexes during meiosis. Therefore, crossing over is not taking place in the case of males. And if we want to detect any uh, crossover event, then the heterozygous individual should be female, because in the female then crossing over will take place and we can easily detect meiotic events. So by crossing these female and male flies, uh, we will get the progeny, and progeny of the test cross will be uh, having different phenotypes, although all the phenotypes have not been mentioned here. So the first two are numerous in number, this and this. So all wild type and all mutants, when genotype is heterozygous, and just like parental forms, in both these cases there are numerous progeny and number is higher. But where crossing over events have taken place, we can easily find that in the case of ebony and spineless, crossing over has taken place because this ST plus gene is now present with these two recessive alleles. So this is not the parental combination. And similarly, scarlet, and we can see that this recessive allele is present with two uh, dominant trait coding genes. So this is also absent from the parental forms. So this is also a recombinant. Similarly, this one, this one, this one, and this one. In all these, you can see that uh, non-parental combinations are also present. Therefore, they are all recombinants. But we also want to detect the 2-point crosses, and if we look at the order of the genes, we do not know. Just keep in mind that now we do not know, till now we do not know the order of the genes on the chromosome, that which gene is present in the middle. So we have just arbitrarily chosen the positions when we are performing the cross. So we'll also look at how we can find the order of the genes. So now we have known that what are the phenotypes that are not that are containing the combination of genes on chromosomes which are recombinants, and they are not part of the parental combinations. So we will use these for finding the order of the gene also. So first of all, uh, determine the gene order. So first task in mapping the genes is to determine their right order on the chromosome. So in the previous figure, we are arbitrarily using the position of the chromosome, position of the genes on the chromosomes, but we have no way of knowing which of the three was between the other two. So we have three genes, ST, E, and SS, but we do not know which one is present between other two genes. So we can now identify the middle locus by looking at the double crossover progeny, because we have already seen in the uh, example of three genes that middle gene is altered when double crossovers are taking place. So first determine which progeny are the non-recombinants. So we have already seen that non-recombinant progeny are numerous, these wild type and all mutants, because in the genotype we can easily see that this is a heterozygous just like parental form, and this is recessive, and these combinations are also parental. So these two are numerous progeny. These two classes are numerous in the progeny. So next step is to identify the double crossovers, and uh, double crossover events are not numerous, and they are less in number, because the probability of a double crossover is always less than the probability of a single crossover event. So the double crossover progeny is less in number. And uh, how we have uh, come to know that these are the double crossovers? Because we can see from the phenotype of the progeny that when single trait will be present, then this will be when two dominant genes are present on one chromosome and a recessive single recessive trait is present on the one chromosome, then in that event uh, crossing over has taken place, and that crossing over event is a double crossover event. Otherwise, when we were looking on the previous example of gene A, B, and C, when segments are exchanged during single crossover events, then only only for the single crossover, two genes were present, dominant genes were present on the uh, on a chromosome. So this spineless is indicating double crossover, and this Scarlett and Ebony is also indicating double crossover event. But we still do not know the order of the gene. So when we have known that single crossover event is producing recombinants, also producing recombinants, but in that case, uh, two genes, two traits are wild type, but when middle gene is crossed, then when middle gene is exchanged between the chromosome, then uh, it indicates that it is a double crossover. Now let us look at the original chromosome combinations if, which are possible, and then when uh, crossing over will take place, and after the crossing over, what will be the combination. So consider that we have three genes, and anyone can be in the middle, and there are three possibilities. Scarlet can be in the middle, ebony can be in the middle, or spineless can also be in the middle. So in all three cases, we will look at the crossover events, and during the double crossovers, in the first case, scarlet is in the middle, and in the second case, ebony is in the middle, and in the third case, spineless is in the middle. So when we were looking at the phenotypes, we have already seen spineless, and in the case of spineless, SS is coding the spineless. So if SS is in the middle, then if this is present in the middle, the spineless is present in the middle, then this will be a double crossover event. So now determining the location of the crossovers, when we know the correct order of the loci on the chromosome. So by looking at the double crossover, we have already found the order of the loci, order of the genes on the chromosomes. Then we can rewrite the phenotype of the test cross progeny. So when SS in the middle, in the case of wild phenotype, in this heterozygote, SS is now in the middle. So as a result of this test cross, we have this number of progeny, and now we can easily see where the crossover events are occurring. So when we will look at, because these two numerous types are non-recombinants, so look at the third option, spineless and ebony. This crossover event, single crossover event, is in the case of this combination is taking place between ST plus and SS. ST plus and SS. So if you look at the parental combination, all the dominants are present on one chromosome and all the recessive, in these cases, all the recessive are present on the other chromosome. So if when between crossing over, single crossover event is taking place between scarlet and uh, spineless, then we can easily see that when if we consider this parental uh, type, so if these crossover events are taking place between SS, ST and SS, then two genes will be exchanged. So in the progeny, the first chromosome has been inherited from the mother, and the second chromosome containing all three recessives are inherited from the father. Similarly, in this in the case of scarlet color, uh, crossover event is also taking place between ST and SS. And in this scarlet, this chromosome is also inherited from the mother, and this one is from the father. So in this combination, two are dominant alleles, and in the spineless and ebony, this ST plus was the dominant allele. Similarly, in all other uh, phenotypes, you can easily work out where the crossover is taking place, because now we know the order of the gene on the chromosomes. So, when looking at the double crossovers, when uh, only single gene is altered, in the case of this spineless, when only single gene is altered, so crossover events are taking place between ST, in this case ST and SS, and then SS and E. So this will result in the uh, alteration of only middle gene. So this uh, chromosome is inherited from the mother, and this is from the father. So when looking at the scarlet and ebony phenotype, this fly has inherited this chromosome from the mother, and this from the father. And we can see that when in the parental type, during the gamete formation, when crossing over events are taking place during the double crossover, middle gene is altered in this case. And when middle gene is altered, there are two types of progeny, and one is where only when uh, recessive allele is present uh, on the segment containing two dominant uh, genes, only one recessive trait is expressed. But in the uh, alternative case, when two uh, recessive phenotypes are present in the fly, in that case also middle gene is altered. A dominant gene is present between the two recessive alleles. So in this way, we can easily find the double crossover events. And now we will come towards calculating the recombination frequencies. And we can easily, because we have previously learned this, how to calculate the number of how to calculate the recombination frequency. So now we can determine the map by using the recombination frequencies. So recombination frequency between ST and SS is 14.6%, and recombination frequency between SS and E is 12.2%, and this recombination frequency between ST and E is 26.8%. So these recombination frequencies belong to the distances, approximately to the distances between the genes, and these distances are measured in map units. So ST and SS are 14.6 map units away, SS and E are 12.2 map units away, and when we will add these two uh, distances, it is 26.8, and this 26.8 is the distance between ST and E. So now we can use these recombination frequencies to draw a map. So ST and E are 26.8 mu, and they are far apart. So and the distance between ST and S is 14.6, and SS and E is 12.2. So in this way SS comes in the middle. So in this way we can make the draw the map of the uh, genes, and this is a complete map of the Drosophila, and uh, different gene groups are present. The scientists have calculated the genetic distance on different chromosomes in Drosophila. So now coming towards the interference and coefficient of incidence. So these two terms are also used in the genetic when we are mapping the when we are calculating the recombination frequencies. So applying multiplication rule of probability, we should find that the proportion of gametes with double crossover events between ST and E is equal to the probability of recombination between ST and SS. So multiplied by the probability of the recombination between SS and E, we can get the uh, recombination frequency between for the double crossovers. So when we will multiply uh, this, because we have already known that what is the multiplication rule of probability and how we can determine the probability of uh, uh, events, recombination events. So when we have multiplied these two recombination frequency of these two crosses, so it is this one and this one. And now if we want to calculate the frequency of probability or frequency of double crossover, so we will multiply these two, and this is 0.178. So multiplying this probability by the total number of progeny, we know the number of total progeny, it is 755. So when will be multiplying this fraction, this probability of double crossover events with the total number of progeny, we will get the number of double crossover, which is 13.4%. So 13.4% is the expected number of double crossover progeny from the cross. So we have seen that only 8 double crossover events were observed in the progeny of the cross, and this 8 is fewer than the 13 expected. So 13 were expected and only 8 were observed. So this is far less than the expected number of double crossovers. So this phenomena is a common phenomena in eukaryotic organisms, that the uh, number of crossovers is less than the expected. Observed number is less than the expected. The calculation assumes, when we were calculating this, we have assumed that each crossover event is independent. When we have calculated using the multiplication rule, then we are assuming that each crossover event is independent, and that the occurrence of one crossover does not influence the occurrence of another crossover. But crossovers are not frequently independent events, and this the occurrence of one tends to inhibit additional crossover events in the same region of the chromosome. So the crossovers are not independent, and there is always a inhibition of the uh, crossover. Therefore the number of double crossovers are far less than the expected. The degree to which the one crossover interferes with additional crossover events in the same region is known as the interference. This phenomena is known as the interference. So we will look at how we can calculate the interference. So to calculate the interference, we first determine the coefficient of coincidence, and this coefficient of coincidence is actually the ratio of observed double crossovers to the ratio of expected double crossovers. So when we will divide these two, we can get the ratio. So for the cross which we have seen in our example, coefficient of coincidence can be calculated, and it is by using this formula, it is 0.6, and this 0.6 is indicating that the that we are actually observing only 60% of the 60% of the double crossovers that we expected on the basis of the single crossover frequencies. So the interference is calculated as um, interference is equal to 1 minus coefficient of incidence. So the interference for our 3-point cross is 1 minus 0.6, and this is 0.4, and this 0.4 value of interference is telling us that 40% of the double crossover progeny expected will not be observed because of interference. So when interference is complete and double crossover progeny are observed, the coefficient of coincidence is 0 and the interference will be 1. And some crossovers, and sometimes more double crossovers are taking place, and progeny appear than expected. So which happens when a crossover increases the probability of another crossover occurring nearby. So in this case, the coefficient of the coincidence is greater than 1 and the interference will be negative. So this is uh, easy to calculate. So now coming towards gene mapping in humans, and we will look at an example of nail patella syndrome disease, because in the humans scientists are uh, have limitations and they cannot uh, perform the desired crosses. So in humans, finding the crossover events and recombinants is not very easy, it is difficult. And one of the first documented uh, example of linkage in human beings was between the locus of for nail patella syndrome and the locus for uh, that determines the ABO blood types. So in these two uh, traits, number of recombinants can be found because they are linked. So nail patella is a syndrome is an autosomal dominant disorder, and you already know what is autosomal dominant. So it is characterized by abnormal fingers and absence or rudimentary absence of rudimentary kneecaps. So the ABO blood types are determined by an autosomal locus, and uh, it is a multiple allele system. ABO blood groups. So linkage between the genes encoding these traits was established in families in which both traits segregate. So sometimes two traits are linked and they segregate within the family. So look at this figure, and in this figure, uh, in the first generation, the father is this person. Father is having the nail patella syndrome, and his blood group is A, whereas the mother's blood group is B and mother does not uh, have the disease. So when we are looking at the second generation, you can easily look that all the combinations are uh, parental combinations, but in the third generation there are two individuals, this second individual, this one, and the third individual, this one, they are having some non parental combinations also. So in this way many disorders uh, have been genes for many disorders have been mapped correctly. So now you have to look at these, at this pedigree, and just uh, explain that which are the parental combinations and which are the non-parental combinations. So you should also know the reason. You should be able to explain this pedigree. So it is very easy. You have to look at the parental combinations and then the combinations in the progeny, and where recombination has taken place because of the crossovers during meiosis, you will get some new combinations other than the parental combinations. And the recombinant individuals in the third generation have their parents in the second generation, and you can easily compare that. So if you will be looking at this second individual, this individual has inherited this chromosome from the mother, but in the father there is no small I small n. So this means that during the gamete formation in this individual, recombination has taken place, and this small n and capital N have been exchanged. So by the exchange of these two, this small I small n combination is present, and this is a recombinant combination, and this is present in this individual, and similarly in the third individual also. So to determine the probability that genes are actually linked, geneticists often calculate Lord score, and to obtain the Lord score they calculate the probability of obtaining the observation with a specific degree of linkage and the probability of obtaining the observations with independent assortment. So then determine the ratio of these two probabilities, and logarithm of the scores, logarithm of this ratio is the Lord score. So when ratio is you have taken the ratio and logarithm of the ratio is obtained, then that value will be the Lord score. So for example, suppose that the probability of obtaining a particular set of observations with linkage and a certain recombination frequency is 0.1, 0.1, and the probability of obtaining the same observation with the independent assortment is 0.0001. So ratio will be 1000, and log of the 1000 is 3, and this is the Lord score, and thus the linkage with the specified recombination is 1000 times as likely to produce what was observed as independent assortment. So a Lord score of 3 or higher is usually considered as the convincing evidence for the linkage. So now coming towards the physical mapping. So genetic maps reveal the relative position of genes on the chromosome on the basis of frequencies of crossover events, but they do not provide the information that can allow us to place group of linked genes on the particular chromosome. So for having the exact position, we cannot use these test crosses. So units of genetic maps do not always precisely correspond to physical distance on the chromosome. So because the number of factors other than the physical distances between genes, such as this type of sex and the type and sex of the organism, can also influence the rate of crossing over. So because of these limitations, physical mapping techniques that do not rely on the rates of crossing over have also been developed by the scientists. So in this regard, first of all, deletion mapping. During the deletion mapping, when in the parental generation a mutant individual is crossed with a wild type individual in which a chromosome with deletion is present, then in the F1 generation, if the genes of interest is in the deletion region, half of the progeny will display the mutants. So in this way, the position can be identified. So but uh, if this deletion is not present in that region, then progeny will be wild type in uh, progeny will be all the individual in the progeny will be wild type. So this is a very easy method also. You can easily figure out this figure. So next is somatic cell hybridization. It is another method for positioning the genes on chromosome in which require the fusion of different types of cells. So most mature somatic cells can undergo only a limited number of divisions and therefore cannot be grown continuously. So, however, cells that have been altered by viruses or derived from the tumors that have lost the normal control on the cell division, so they will divide indefinitely, and these types of cells can be cultured in the laboratory and they are known as the cell lines. So, cell lines can be used to physically map the chromosomes. So in this figure you can see that first of all human fibroblast and mouse cells are mixed and they are uh, mixed with the polyethylene glycol and polyethylene glycol then uh, this is polyethylene glycol facilitates the mixing and then a heterokaryon is produced and when this heterokaryon is containing both mouse and human uh, nuclei. So when they are fused, they are grown in the medium, and then different human chromosomes are lost when they are these hybrid cells are cultured in the plate. So in this way, hybridoma cells are produced. And when they are produced, then they are selected on the hat medium. Hat medium is used to select the hybrid cells, and because human cells have uh, uh, thymidine kinase, which is active, and mouse cells have HPRT, hypoxanthine uh, transferase enzyme. So both cells have one uh, inactive gene, so they cannot grow on the uh, they cannot grow on the uh, sorry they can grow on the hat medium, but when they are uh, in the hybrid form, but when they are not hybrid they cannot grow in the hat medium because hat medium contains both uh, hypoxanthine, aminopterin, and thymidine kinase. So hybrid cells can easily be selected by using this technique. So when hybridoma are formed, human chromosomes are lost, and in different cell lines different number of different chromosomes are present, human chromosomes are present. So in this technique different cell lines are needed, and these cell lines uh, are checked for a gene product for which we want to map that this gene is located on which chromosome. So when performing this technique we look at the cell lines, and if a gene product is giving the positive signal, then it will be present on uh, in that cell line. And when we will compare all these cell lines, we can see that this gene product is positively detected in cell line A, cell line B, cell line D, and cell line E. This means that in these four cell lines, chromosome number 4 is present intact, and all other positive signals are just part of the chromosome. So uh, uh, this these positive signals present on all in these four cell lines are indicating that this gene product is hybridizing with chromosome number 4. So in this way we can physically map the uh, chromosomes, and we can see what is the location of the chromosomes. So the third method is in situ hybridization, and in this method different probes are used. In the first figure uh, this green and this green and this red and this red, these are uh, two different probes for two different chromosomes, and because each individual has two chromosomes therefore two signals are present for each probe. So in this way we can easily locate on which chromosome the gene is located. And in this second figure, this is also a fish in situ hybridization, but uh, this technique is known as fish fluorescence in situ hybridization. uh, in this case, in both cases. But in the first case only two probes are used, but in the second case sky technique is used. In the sky technique 24 different probes are used for uh, all the chromosomes, and uh, then in this way you can we can easily see that uh, which chromosome is uh, having the gene. So this is also a very useful method. So the last method is mapping the genes by DNA sequencing, and uh, there are two common methods nowadays. So old the Sanger was the scientist who identified the DNA sequencing technique for the first time, and then the next generation sequencing. So in next generation sequencing now we have many other technologies. So in these methods DNA sequence is identified. So this figure is showing the uh, Sanger method. Different peaks are indicating different nucleotides, and in this part of the figure, this is the sequencing next generation sequencing method, in which each and every single read is uh, identified and then mapped, and then the results of this sequencing has been uh, indicated in this pedigree. So we are not going into the details now. I just wanted to let you know that this is an DNA sequencing is also a method used for the physical mapping. So I think uh, it's enough for today's lecture. We have already uh, discussed enough about this one. So if you have any question, you can ask during the question answer session. Thank you.